Mr. Happy Living, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WITV7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. Hey, friends, please join me for just a minute and imagine how fantastic you'd feel living the unique and distinct life you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value to others. Well, that's what I call a life of significance, and I can tell you it makes a very happy life. And so can Ann Nelson. She's my guest star today, and she's here to share her unique and distinct journey to her life of significance. But before bringing her on, I'd like to introduce a new segment to the show called the Show Poem. So here goes. In the realm of hearts, Ann Nelson reigns. As wisdom is gleaned, insights are gained. Marriage, family, and grief she tends to peak performance as clients mend. In Ann's embrace, find your soul's song with resilience, love, and peace so strong. Her faith and science will help you see the path to thrive where your heart lives free. Hey, Ann, welcome to the show.
Hey, that's quite an intro. I love it. Thank you. Thank you
welcome.
for having me.
Why don't you get us started by telling us what you're doing these days to make your mark of significance on the world?
Yeah, well, gosh, it's beautiful. I get the honor and privilege of walking people go through a journey that may be very challenging, very difficult, maybe even a lack of faith and belief that they're going to get to the other side, right? Oftentimes people come to me when their marriage they've seen 1,000 counselors, they've read 1,000 books, they're doing all the things, and to be able to heal and mend their family is huge. Right. And so when I'm able to help couples really start to change the trajectory of their legacy for their family, and it starts with themselves and their relationship, and that really helps them to be able to grow and with passion and forgiveness and grace and mercy. And it's so powerful to watch the lives go from not talking to each other or yelling at each other from the other room to snuggle up on the couch and enjoying vacations and play together. It's just so fun.
That sounds fun. All right, Ann, and that's awesome. But let's do a little bit mathematics so our friends all around the World Wide Web can get to know you through our happy formula. It may be a simple formula, but it has superpowers, and it goes like this. Power plus purpose equals happy. So let's start with power, with power. What are your personal practices for building up all the power you need to get things done, whether it's physically, mentally, financially, spiritually, emotionally? In other words, Ann, what do you do on a regular basis to create all the power you need to take really good care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty left over to be a giver to others?
Yeah, well, as you know, it's a holistic approach, right? The reality is we don't do things or have success or power by a quick checklist and, oh, I knocked these boxes off, right? It's got to be holistic. And so as you walk through all those different platforms, so to speak, it's so important to, one, for me, is I have mentors in my life. And that's really important because those mentors help me to really hold a high standard, to be able to not measure myself against somebody else, but against the best version of myself, right? So whether it's business, whether it's faith, whether it's taking time from a therapy session myself, I really like to create connected relationships in all those different realms of my life. But in addition to that, regular movement, right? I love it when I take that holistic approach. I have prayer walks every day, and it's a time to commune with God. But then I also have walks with my daughter almost every day. So it's a relational bond at the same time to nurture the family relationship. And she doesn't live at home anymore. So it's wonderful to be able to have that connecting point. For my physical health, I'm really nutrition conscious, right? So I do like an intermittent fasting, but I change it up so that I can have my metabolic health be, ongoing. And that gives me the stamina I need to serve my clients and my family as well. Spiritual practices, of course, I have my morning meditation before I even get out of bed. And then I have my daily practice of scripture reading and prayer and meditation there. And looking constantly for that place of growth, right?
Yeah.
So important to always be looking for growth.
Well,
And yeah,
okay. Well, that
yeah,
takes us right into this next session, which is my favorite power generating concept. It's called a Kaizen state of mind.
yeah,
And it's this beautiful Japanese idea that small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. And I love it because it's based on mindset, not circumstance. Kaizening life is knowing, as you said, there's always something I can do better tomorrow than today. And it
mhm,
creates this optimistic, gentle, but powerful and continuous uplifting of my life day after day after day.
that,
Oh, and
that.
how does Kaizening your life help you increase your power to continuously become more so you can continuously give more?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I love this question. It reminds me of, are you familiar with Benjamin Hardy?
No.
Okay, so he wrote a whole bunch of books on, um, one is Be Your Future Self Now. Another one is 10x is easier than 2x. And the
Mm,
reality of that is how to create this vision. Like you have a vision and you're going to get to it, right? And don't let where you are today hold you standing still, right? But
hmm
instead, take the incremental steps, right? The Kaizen, getting those incremental steps to
hmm
get to that vision, to create that vision. And for me, I have daily practices of, I call it priority focus time, where I really sit in, aside from those spiritual and relational practices, where I really sit in and focus on plans and execution and everything that needs to be done within my business. And then I have accountability too. I have two groups I meet with each week. One is for business and one is for personal, right?
mm,
So that there's a book called The 12-Week Year.
mm,
And with this book, you have certain strategies. And so my personal one, we have this 12-week yearbook that we hold each other accountable. What are your tasks that you're doing? And then we score ourselves at the end of the week. Did I do
yeah.
80% of what I said I was going to do? Or did I do 5% of what I said I was going to do? Right. And where do I get to pivot and change? So these are really important for me to be able to, then when I look at what's working and what's not working, to be able to adapt and lean into new strategies, to be able to pivot, to not be too attached to what I think it's going to look like, but instead to
Yeah.
be able to just continue forward and make the pivots I need to make along the way.
Yeah. You mentioned the reflection is really important to determine what we should be doing. But talk to us a little bit about how you can identify things that you should no longer be doing and you should be getting out of your life and making space for the future you.
Well, you know what's amazing is the more that, for me anyway, the more that I focus on what I get to do, right? On how I want to be, where I want to create, the less room I have for the things that are stopping me
hmm
from getting there, right? So
hmm
when I take that time to engage in those groups, to connect with my loved ones, to build maybe the foundations of my business or my practice or a new strategy or a new offer for my audience to really help them to grow. When I do that, well, now I don't have time to sit around and binge watch TV. I don't have
hmm
time to frivol away my energies, but instead, the time that I do have, I'm investing back into people.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. All right. Let's explore purpose. That's the second element of our happy formula.
Yeah,
And I've observed that major life transformations, that big discovery of purpose, so often, sadly, comes from devastation.
yeah,
Addiction, abuse, disease, death, disaster, something awful strips a life to its core, resulting in some big change.
yeah.
However, in my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I share the transformational process that I've used to discover the purpose of my life using inspiration. So how
Mm,
about you, Anne? Was there a specific moment or event or crisis or inspiration that
mm.
revealed to you the God-given purpose you were meant to live?
That's such a great question. So, for me, it was probably a couple different things sprinkled in along the way. So for me, I grew up with a father who was terminally ill basically most of my life. And so
Mm,
his struggle with cancer was 10 years until he died. And it
mm,
nurtured in me a real attentiveness to people's needs, right? And I
mm,
started to notice like weird quirks that I had that my friends didn't have, and just seeing like I became quickly, even at a young age, the person people came to for encouragement or advice or whatever. And I didn't know that it was anything significant at the time, but as I continued to move forward in my life, I did. Well, I'll tell you a kind of a funny story. So my parents were at the kitchen table arguing when I was a child. I was probably 7 or 8 years old. My dad was the president of the Nebraska Psychiatric Association. So he
Mm.
used tape recorders. This is back in the day before, MP3 and, he
Yep.
used tape recorders in his practice, and he had given me his old tape recorder. He gave me the tape recorder, and one night I'm supposed to be sleeping. I'm not sleeping. I can hear my parents in the bedroom, the kitchen, arguing at the kitchen table. So what do? I grab my tape recorder and I sneak in through the house, and they can't see me, but I can hear clearly. And what do? But I hit record.
Mm.
It seemed like an eternity for me, but really it was a matter of probably 1 or 2 minutes. But it was long enough for me to then hit stop, rewind, put it on the kitchen table and say, "You two sound stupid," and
Mm.
hit play. And that was a transformational experience, because my dad came back and I was like, "I'm going to get a spanking. I'm in so
Right.
much trouble." And my dad came back and he just said, "I am so sorry for the way your mom and I are behaving. Thank you for helping us to see what we were doing."
Mm. That's
And
great.
that was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's lots of little moments over the years that have kind of compounded or expanded this vision that I ended up having. But I really see the teeny tiny bits, even as young as a little girl.
But there's a lot of years between that um, recording without permission, I think, which is illegal, that illegal recording that you did of your parents, and you putting your shingle up at Fully Thriving. So what was the catalyst to finally launch from what you were doing to having your own business?
Yeah, one of the wake up calls I had was I was part of a church, right? I was a kind of a relatively young Christian. I didn't really understand my faith as a personal relationship with Christ until I was in my early 20s. And we had what I call a church implosion. We had leadership that it was an international organization, and some things were leaked out about leadership and how they had done things wrong. And the interesting thing to me was the way the church handled it. Not only was there's this big leadership implosion, but the congregation itself was imploding. People were at each other's throats. People were
Mhm.
self-righteous and judgmental. And I just thought, this is not aligned with the word of God,
Mhm.
nor is this mentally healthy, right? And so that really inspired me that something had to change. And so my journey began with where I could serve, where I could work to support things, and then eventually became what I launched with Fully Thriving, where we are living one another, one another, one another. Scriptures say it over and over and over again, and that's for a reason and intent, because in relationship, there is so much healing. In relationship, in responsibility, there's so much healing. And then you bring that together, and now we make generational change. We make changes that last way beyond our lifetime.
Very good. All right, Ann, thanks for that. Let's take a quick commercial break so our sponsor can spread a little love with our audience. Mr. Happy Living here. I love good things made for good people. That's why I love Happy Living's online e-course. It's an 8-week-long deep dive into you and the inspired life you want to live. The life you were put here on this earth to live. The one that you and only you can live. 8 weeks of lectures and ideas and topics and supporting materials and powerful self-improvement tools. All designed for you. All designed to help you create the tools and the power and the confidence you need to discover your purpose and to discover the life you were meant to live, and to feel incredibly inspired and motivated to decide you will live your life to its fullest. It's all designed to help you create the unique and distinct philosophy of you and your inspired life. Go to happyliving.com, select our e-course, and save $100 with promo code WITV7. And for every enrollment, I'll donate another $100 to WITV7. For $300 and about 30 hours, I promise you'll never, ever be the same again. And we're back, and this is the Something Significant Show, and I'm your host, Matt Gersberg. And my special guest star today is Ann Nelson. She's the president of Fully Thriving, where she specializes in marriage, family, and grief recovery, helping her clients build resilience, strengthen relationships, and achieve peak performance. Ann says good science reflects God's glory, and she believes we can all witness the fruits of this in our own lives.
Yeah.
Oh, Ann, I love that. And I think you're going to love this article called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. It says that the act of giving itself can be a gateway to discovering your reason for being on the planet. It says that science tells us that giving our time and talents and treasures is a powerful pathway for discovering purpose and overcoming difficulties and finding fulfillment and meaning in life.
Mhm.
So I updated our formula. Power plus purpose plus giving equals really happy. So what do you think, Ann? Has giving your time and your talents and your treasure been a pathway for discovering your purpose and for getting past difficulties that you've faced and for bringing real meaning into your life?
Absolutely. I love that concept of giving. It's so, so important. I can't even begin to tell you how many times in my life where I've been going through a hard season, but I have a place that I get to serve. Maybe it's at church or in my community. And I'm sitting there at, 7 o'clock. I have to be there in 30 minutes. And I'm telling myself, I don't want to go. And then I go. And then at the end of that giving, all of a sudden God revealed to me, oh, you touch this life, you touch that life, you touch this
Yeah.
life, and you start to really get in touch. So even when we have no clue what our purpose is, even when we have no idea what's going on, that act of giving reveals so much. And then for me in my life anyway, I found that when I started to really get into my sweet spot of giving, it didn't feel like giving anymore. It felt like flow.
Yeah.
It felt like I lost track of time because I just had an opportunity to serve, and it was so joyous to be able to do so.
Yeah. There's a guy I had the wonderful opportunity to interview and get to know a little bit personally as a friend named Frank Shankwitz.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you've heard of Frank Shankwitz.
I
He's the
haven't.
guy that founded the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And there's a
Wonderful.
movie called The Wish Man now that's out about his life. He's since passed. But he said as a little boy, he was like a 7 or 8 year old little boy, poor as could be. And he befriended a man named Juan Delgado, who ran a local business. And Juan taught him that, he said, Frank, you can always give to somebody. You always have, everybody has something they can give. And he says, Juan, what can I give? I have nothing. And he says, you see, you can go over to Mrs. Sanchez's house, who gives you burritos every day to take to your school lunch, and you can weed her yard for her. Or you can go help this person with their painting of the fence. So there's always something that we can do. And when
Right.
you are giving, it changes the alchemy, I guess. Is that the right word of how you feel? And
Yeah.
it leads to changed outcomes, and in this case, to the foundation of this awesome Make-A-Wish Corporation.
That's so beautiful. And truly, you're 100% accurate. Oftentimes when I have a client that's depressed or anxious, I say, grab a piece of paper, write a list of people you can call when you're feeling that way, not to tell them how you feel, but to ask them how they're doing.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And it
very
takes
good.
them out of the dumps.
Yeah. So that's it. The science tells us that giving to others helps bring real meaning to our lives. And the joy we feel from the fourth element of significance, doing work that creates value for others, confirms it. But there's something more to it than just the giving, Ann. I believe that the real magic of life comes when you're giving from living in your purpose.
Mhm.
So the audience and I would like to know how it makes you feel to be happily living your life and giving to others through the work God put you on this planet to do, and the people all around you have taken notice. So Ann, please sit back, open your heart, and have a listen to what people are saying about the impact you're making on their lives by finding the magic of giving from living in your purpose. One person said, working with Ann has been wonderful. Another said, I desired to find a safe place for healing and change. Ann has supported me now for over 8 months, and both my mindset as well as my marriage is finding proper healing. Another said, I believe Ann is gifted and would highly recommend her to anyone seeking to improve life skills or work through a situation where the answers are not always clear or easy to see. Others said she's insightful, trustworthy, an expert in her field, effective, she thinks quickly and communicates easily, principled, she has integrity, an advocate for both husband and wife, focused, talented, well-informed, empathetic, unafraid, gifted, encouraging, an effective motivator, a great and active listener, and has been a lifeline in our marriage. Both I and my husband thank you, Anne. Our time with Anne changed our marriage. I'm now experiencing freedom from actions and reactions which used to have power over me. Working with Anne has been amazing. It was a life-changing experience. And finally, this person said, I believe she has a gift and even a calling on her life to help people traverse the road of life, struggles and all. Anne's calming effect helps to draw the answers out of me. So Anne, how does all that incredible love make you feel?
Amazing, absolutely amazing. It is such a blessing to be part of something so much bigger than myself, because I know each life represented is changing lives around them.
Yeah.
And I love that ability to stand for emotional and spiritual health. And it's amazing. It feels fantastic.
Yeah, it's like, you give a little love to somebody and they can spread it around. The
Mhm.
opposite is you give a little pain to somebody and they spread that around too,
It's true.
right? So
That's so
it's not just a one-to-one, it's this ripple effect
yeah.
that each of us have the ability to create. And so that's what the show is all about, is finding that magic of your purpose in each of our lives. And it's available for everyone. That's what I believe anyways. It comes from this great big happy circle. Giving your time and talents and treasures is a powerful pathway for discovering your purpose. And then giving from living in your purpose brings a profound joy to your life, but also to the lives of those around you.
Yeah.
So it seems that giving leads to purpose and giving from purpose leads to joy. So to capture the full exponential power of our happy formula, Anne, I got to tweak it just a little bit more to power times purpose times giving equals happy to the third power. And that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you?
That sounds perfect. It sounds perfect. Yeah, and
Very
let's
good.
say such gratitude, right? To be able to be in that place.
Absolutely, 100%. All right, let's wrap things up with the lightning round. I love the power of words and the capacity for great quotes to change lives. So I'm going to read a few of my favorites and have you tell us what they mean to you. Give us the first thing that pops to your mind, Anne, because we call this a lightning round.
Okay.
Here we go. From Rumi, of all you see, only love is infinite.
That what comes to mind is one another, that there's nothing more powerful than the way we engage with others.
Very good. From A.W. Tozer, he said, it is doubtful whether God can bless a man greatly until he has hurt him deeply.
No, grace. What comes to mind there is grace is when we really truly accept God's grace, we have freedom. When we don't accept that gift, we're stuck.
Very good. From Walt Whitman, he said, to me, every hour of the light and dark is a miracle. Every cubic inch of space is a miracle.
Gratitude. I agree 100%, right? Those miracles that we get to witness every single day, the fact that I have the sun outside my window over here, gratitude.
Yeah, very good. From 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 6 and 7. He who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. So let each one give as he purposes in his heart, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver.
Yeah, that comes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Is even in those moments, no matter how you're feeling, and when you choose to give instead of sit stuck, you get blessed on the back end. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Yeah. This is from Shunryu Suzuki. He says, you are perfect just as you are, and you could use a little improvement.
I love it. Again, what I think of there is the whole grace concept, right? For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, that joy being in relationship with us. And yet we get to aim for perfection is another scriptural quote, that we get to aim for perfect. So grace comes up again for that one.
Yeah. And finally, this is our show anchor from Goth. He says, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now.
Do it now. Yeah, yeah. Just, I think walking, it's in action that we gain confidence. It's not in thinking about being confident that we become confident. It's in the action.
Yep.
That's
It's in the doing. Yep.
Mhm.
Very good. Okay, folks, now it's your chance to be a giver too. If you can hear my voice and you were inspired by today's show with Ann Nelson, won't you please share a little love with our magnificent broadcast team by giving what you can to WITV7. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage. They do good works with your kindness. And I love your faith that every human being is unique, beautiful, and full of possibilities and value. And I admire how you use psychology and neuroscience to help people thrive like never before and start spiraling up rather than down and find clarity in life by becoming fully who they are meant to be. And I'm super happy that you've shared your passionate, God-loving, fully thriving spirit on our show today. Will you please take a minute or two and share any parting remarks you'd like to leave our audience?
Any part of my, I'm sorry, the question again.
Any parting remarks?
Oh, parting remarks. Yeah. That you don't know what you don't know. So it's time to start learning. And that you can't get to where you want to go unless you know where you are today and start the journey moving forward so that you can create all this beautiful happiness that Matt's sharing with you and so powerful to hear.
There is lots of happy in the world to be had, isn't there, Ann?
There is. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah. And happiness is just little stringing together incremental moments.
Yeah, and you can replace the word happy. Some people have a hard time with it, with joy, or with peace, right, and self-fulfillment, and just feeling happy and good and purposeful. So, very good. All right, I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guest stars like Ann and reaching folks just like you, ready to create your own extraordinary lives. And most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. You'll find links to social media and all things Ann Nelson. Find her, friend her, schedule a free 30-minute session to discover your best steps for moving forward. And you'll find all of it in our show notes. From me to you, dear friends, I love you and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy too. So go to happyliving.com right now and take our happy quiz, because measuring your happy helps you focus your attention on it, and focusing attention on it attracts change and learning and improvement, all to flow right into your life. And once you take the quiz, and it only takes a minute, then won't you give some thought to what we can do together, you and me, to improve the happy of your world, one person at a time. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome. And this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.
Okay.